I think a lot of people in the audience obviously have heard of critical theory. They've definitely heard of critical race theory. But today we're actually focusing on critical pedagogy. So can you explain what that is?
Yeah, let me actually just reiterate something though that you said in your introduction for me. And what that is the fact that even if you're outside of the educational system, this is extremely relevant because regardless, you're going to encounter it, and your children are going to encounter it. So, for a few reasons. Number one, your curriculum's probably already tainted in many cases. So, selecting curriculum as the homeschooler is actually going to require you to understand what to avoid.
Yes.
What we're seeing is people that are like pretty staunchly conservative are even picking up some of the underlying assumptions. And although they're applying them in a way that's not specifically leftist, they're entering into, beliefs like that you cannot teach any subject in a value neutral way. I think it is possible to teach in a largely unbiased way. We can teach history without having to sugarcoat or throw any particular set of colors on the facts to the best of our ability to understand them and what they mean for, whether it's the world at large or our people. But I won't digress, because the other reasons are your kids are like you mentioned before we started, your kids are going to go to college. The colleges are completely steeped in this outside of the hard sciences and increasingly even within the hard sciences. And then most importantly, your kids are going to interact with other children.
Mm-hmm.
And those other children are being educated by this. So they're going to get the critical mentality that they're getting from their critical pedagogy education is going to leak into your home. So you're going to need to understand how to diffuse that with your own children, which is, somewhat straightforward. But critical theory in general is extremely seductive and extremely tricky in a way. It's like a wholly negative view where all you do is complain that everything's not some imaginary ideal. The really crazy part, I was careful with my wording there, because the really crazy part of this imaginary ideal is you don't even have to have an ideal. All you have to have is that a perfect society wouldn't be like this one. And that's the heart of the critical theory idea. So that's like, for example, with critical race theory, we've all heard the word anti-racism now. Ibram Kendi, you can either be racist or anti-racist. There's no other options,
Mm-hmm.
right? What he's doing is basing all of this off of an imaginary vision of a society with no racism in it whatsoever. Well, what does that society look like? Well, they never describe it. They don't know. It's a society that doesn't have any racism in it. So all they do is point to things that they can call racist or that they can script racism into. So what will happen is your kids are going to interact with other kids in the world, or especially as they get older, when they go off to college, who've been fully steeped in this stuff. And when they go to college in particular, but even earlier, you run the risk of them thinking, well, I'm homeschooled, I was sheltered, and now I'm being exposed to all these secret truths about how bad the world is that I didn't know about. And if you aren't preparing them for that, which means understanding how the critical mindset works, you're not going to be able to prepare them for the road that they're going to walk. And of course, homeschoolers understand particularly that the job of parents is not to prepare the road for the child, but prepare the child to walk the road. That's actually why you do what you do. Instead of, say, send your kids to the school and they go yell at the school board, which is trying to change the shape of the road that they're on. So this is really important, even if you're in the homeschooling space, although your kids probably will not be getting, the fire hose blast to the face level exposure through you or your other homeschooling people that you work with. Just to be clear though, like this mindset, as Elon Musk and others have called it, a mind virus.
Mm-hmm.
Critical theory is basically a mind virus, has gone like pandemic status throughout all of Western civilization. So there's no interacting with the Western world without thinking this way.